Welcome back to the Bits Matter podcast. I'm your host, Doug Ridley, and after a decade plus in the agency world, I'm now at the Element Group, helping community banks and credit unions drive traffic, engage their community, and improve in-branch experience. In today's episode, we take a close look at why every bit matters and some actionable bits that institutions can use to separate themselves in today's crowded marketplace. Today, we're joined by the co-founder of the Element Group, Nate Baldessaro. Nate, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about yourself
Sure.
and how Element got started.
Well, again, my name is Nate Baldessaro, and myself and William Foley, good friend and business partner, started Element 14 years ago. And with the desire of helping community banks and credit unions become more successful in the marketplace. I'm very excited that my professional career and my personal career has all been built up here in New Hampshire. I married my high school sweetheart 34 years ago, and we have one daughter, Bryn, who's 24 years old and is actually sitting right over there. And she's responsible for this digital studio, and she's the one that has to reel me in and keep me on pace. So thank you, Bryn.
Hardest job of today. So the Element Group has a tagline, "Every bit matters." Can you talk to us a little bit about what that means to you?
Sure. Well, I think certainly from my perspective over my life so far, whether it's business, whether it's sports, whether it's just kind of personal relationships, the work is in the details. It's always those little things that make the biggest difference. So when we were looking at developing our name for the company, one of the things we always knew is we wanted to develop space that people felt comfortable in, right? We wanted people to feel great. And when we're saying that, we kept saying we want people to be in their element, right? It's comfortable. Everybody likes their element. And so we said, well, let's look at that name. So when I think it was through the thesaurus or the dictionary, we looked up element. And one of the definitions we came across was an environment naturally suited to or associated with an individual. And we thought, that's perfect, right? We want to create space that everybody feels in their element, whatever that is, and there's varying forms of that. But we also noticed there were some chemical definitions of element where the bit is the smallest form of matter that makes up elements. So we thought, well, clearly every bit has to matter or there's no element. So hence the tagline was created. And it's a challenging tagline because you want everything to work out just right. Doesn't always, but it's something we strive to do as much as we can every day and learn as we go year to year.
I've seen people use that tagline, "Every bit matters," to really elevate or to make sure that we're really delivering at a high value for our clients. Mm-hmm. How does every bit matter fall now with the evolution of Element?
Yeah, great. Well, again, initially when we started the company, we're primarily what we consider a design build company. So designing physical space, building it out, making sure we had enough offices that they were private or semi-private and those things. So initially it was all about kind of the space planning and looking a little bit of the choreography of the space, the details of, even back then, bringing in more community involvement through graphics, some digital and things like that. But over time, we've always done digital signage, but in the last couple of years, it has played a much bigger role than it did 14 years ago. Same with promotional products. So now when the trick is really how do you tie all of those things in together to deliver an outstanding experience to the customer or member or the employee that's there. And so, it's a very crowded marketplace out there in financial services, right? There's 4,500 banks, another 4,000 or 5,000 credit unions, all selling the same product, basically have to follow the same rules when it comes to the selling of them, right? We're a very conservative industry, rightfully so. So those little points of difference are things that we try to find and help them with, really can separate, like we talked about earlier, the good from the great. Can do the same thing in business today. But it's been this evolution, and what's really nice is there is no end to it. It's never like, well, we got the last bit and it's over. The bits will keep coming, and you can always get better at something. So that's exciting for us, and it's fun to see our customers kind of engage with that, where they're starting to look for those things, and then they may come to us and say, hey, we identified something that we think could be a differentiator. See if we can help them, make that work for them.
One of the big things of working with our clients this year has really been this retail mindset. Mm-hmm. Talk to me a little bit about bits in how financial institutions can learn from that retail mindset.
Great question, Doug. And yes, we certainly believe that the financial service industry is in the retail sector. So we try to take all the great points that we see out there with traditional retailers. So when we talk about those bits, it can be anything from great wayfinding, which if anybody's been to some of these airports lately knows that doesn't exist anywhere. So to the comfort of the space itself. When we developed the company to begin with, it was all about building an environment that people felt comfortable in. So that was key from day one.
Being in your element.
Being in your element, absolutely. And again, everybody has a place that they'd like to go to, or multiple places that they feel comfortable right off the bat. So that was always key. But it came down sometimes to, again, wayfinding. How do we train the staff just to greet a customer or member in an improved fashion or format? We've used Apple, like many companies over the years, for things that they always did really well. And when they started their Apple stores, one of the biggest things that everybody complimented on was the fact that you were greeted when you came in. You weren't assaulted. You were greeted, hey, can we help you with anything? Or they would help us get you with an associate to take care of your problems. Other than that, they would leave you alone, but you felt like, okay, they saw me. If I have a need, they're ready to help me out. And if I don't need them, they're fine to walk away and go assist somebody else. So those sorts of interactions, I think at the end of the day, how do we create an experience where the consumer or the employee, what they remember about it is some sort of a feeling? Certainly we hope it's a good feeling, right? They may not remember exactly opening the account or what was discussed at certain meetings, but if they leave, they're thinking, man, that was a really great experience, far different from the last time I went to a bank or credit union or maybe even another store, then we've done our job. So it's looking at those things. And, we often talk about promotional products. Every bank and every credit union, like most companies, do this in some way, shape, or form. Unfortunately, I think over the years, it's kind of been a last-minute ad. There hasn't been a lot of strategy built in as to why we're giving it. Is it on brand? How do we deliver it? Because at the end of the day, we're not giving away really expensive things, right? So it's not so much that it's a mug. Even if it's a nice Yeti, it's a nice product, but it's the delivery of that item, which is what's going to be remembered. At the end of another year, it's going to be up in their shelf somewhere and maybe transplanted by 4 more other things. But they'll never forget how it was delivered if it's in a unique, memorable fashion.
Let's talk a little bit about promotional products.
Mm-hmm.
Before the cameras were rolling, you and I were kind of going through some different bits that our clients are using to really enhance their member and customer experience. And I think our audience would find it really interesting to sort of have you walk through how to execute or ideas that they can implement really starting tomorrow. The first one that I thought was a no-brainer, but I don't think a lot of people are leveraging, is around birthday emails, special occasions, etc.
Mm-hmm.
How would you define that as a bit that people should be doing in their branches?
Well, I think it is, first of all, I think the low-hanging fruit for any institution. Banks and credit unions have a lot of data on their customer or member segments. I think most of them underutilize it greatly. And I think I talked in our very first podcast that when my birthday was in February, I'm associated with 5 or 6 banks. Got nothing from any of them. I got it from my Hilton, and I got it from my airline, and I got it from a mortgage guy who I don't know, and a couple of restaurants, but nothing from those. And, the fact is it's very easy via a CRM system and an automated email program that you can basically set it and forget it. And, hey, once a year, Nate Baldessaro is going to get a message, and it could be as simple as, hey, so excited to see it's your birthday today or this month or the week or however they want to package that. Hope you have a wonderful birthday. And again, thank you very much for being a customer or a member of XYZ. Very simple, and again, once it's set, it pretty much is on autopilot to do that. From that simple point, you can get a little more detailed if you want. It's segment based on the age. Certain ages, 25, 35, 50, 75, might trigger additional either actions, additional gift, or just the fact that, hey, they're going into a period of their life that they may need some extra assistance. And, hey, we'd love to help you with that if you find it's important for you.
And that's interesting because having worked with financial institutions in the past and in the agency world, that was one thing around birthdays or the beginning of the new year where people really think about their financial health. right? A
Yeah.
great opportunity to say, hey, you're turning, maybe it is a milestone,
Right.
maybe it's a specific year where they should be thinking really more about retirement,
Yeah.
or a milestone around a young professional, how much should you be saving,
Yeah.
et cetera. I love that.
Yeah.
One of the things we really work on with clients is getting people into their branch. Talk to me a little bit about how a simple birthday email might be able to be utilized to increase foot traffic.
Sure. Well, again, I think there's a couple ways. I'll start with something a little more specific, which could be kind of I'll call them the major anniversary birthdays. Your 25 milestone birthdays where, hey, this person has reached this age and we would like to target them for a segment of business. So maybe it's their 23rd, 24th, 25th birthday. They're probably out of college now. They might be in their first apartment, might need auto loans, might be looking for a house. So, hey, it's your 25th birthday. Congratulations. We always like to celebrate that. Come on into your local branch or somewhere. We got a nice gift for you. Now, again, that gift could be a standard, just a coffee mug that everybody gets, or it could be tied into a digital touchscreen that they win something else. Now, the reality is not everybody is coming in, but the folks that do come in provide you an opportunity to have a quick conversation. Hey, happy birthday. And again, this is where the training of the staff comes in. It's not just a siloed thing. They have to understand kind of what's being done here. And when somebody comes in to get that item, here's kind of some talking points that we want to engage them with. So I think those things are relatively easy to do. There's a little commitment because, you have a little product in the branch, but those things can now be brought in as needed. So it's not as hard there. I think there's, in addition to birthdays, there's things like just anniversary of opening your first account. I think, geez, if somebody is with an institution for 10 years, 20 years, 50 years, that's some nice loyalty. So again, it could also be tiered based on what is their account. Do they have the lion's share of all of their wallet, or is it just they got a savings account and they keep $40 in it? There's two different things. But again, with the CRM, with analytics, you can really determine kind of somewhat the value of these customers or members, and the ability to reward them or thank them is probably a better term for their loyalty to you as an institution. So I think there's a lot of ways to bring those folks in. We have a client we're talking to now about, they're looking at sending out physical cards, birthday cards, as opposed to like a digital or email, which is really simple. But they want to have a variable code. So we'll know what that code is. So they can say, oh, Doug Ridley's birthday, he's at a certain age group or time in his life. If he comes in, puts that code into the touchscreen, it's going to give him, this selection of gifts or thank you gifts. Could be little things, or hey, this guy's a fat cat. He's going to get something nicer. So again, it's being, but those are things that are a little creative. Most institutions aren't doing them. So when we talk about those bits, I think it's those bits can make a huge difference, and we can share these with everybody. But the reality is, only a small segment of the population or the folks will do these things. So you stand out pretty easily. As we've said in the past, the bar is low when you look at kind of that retail banking compared to a traditional retailer or storefront. So we kind of take what they're doing, try to bring it in, and evolve the financial services today with those things.
Let's jump a little bit from customer member to employees. Nowadays, it's critical to recognize employees. Hiring is really, really competitive. How do you see institutions using certain bits to recognize employees, keep them, et cetera?
Right. Well, you're certainly right. I mean, I've been in this business 20 plus years now, and a lot of things have changed post-COVID. And it used to be at a bank or credit union, you didn't have a problem finding people. You could always find good, competent people that were working for you. That changed dramatically. And so we see a lot of people struggling to find help. And that's in a lot of sectors, not just ours. But I think, because it's critical to not only find people, but it's to keep them. So we really have to be cognizant of, recognizing great performance, right? Rewarding great performance. And it's not all monetary. It's, we've done a lot of stuff with promotional products as kind of, hey, sale incentives, as, hey, if we're looking to raise the NPS score across, a 10 branch network, hey, the 5 top branches over the next 30 days. If you hit that or the higher scores, everybody gets some nice swag, some merch and things like that, which is fun. But sometimes it starts as simple as kudos. We have a client that we control all of their digital signage in all of their break rooms and at the headquarters. And internally, they're able to share a kudos. So, hey, I would like to shout out to Doug. Really helped me with a difficult client I had in the branch the other day. Thank you very much. Great job. So that's something that people visually see. And again, it allows them internally not just to say thank you to somebody or recognize them, but now the entire network, the entire organization sees it. We've talked a lot about, internally here, simple things like gift cards and going out to dinner and just taking the time to, from a management or owner's perspective, of having those conversations and saying it.
I want to stop you right there just for a moment around the ownership piece of it, because you and William do an extraordinary job with recognition, and it seems like you're always looking for that piece. Tell me a little bit about how you have built that into the culture here at Element and how your approach and philosophy to that is.
Well, I think, again, and I know William, I think, has the same mindset because he played sports too. And growing up playing sports, sometimes there were two types of coaches. There were the coaches that would beat you down. And then there were coaches that, because most athletes know, if I'm not doing something well, you're either not winning or you're just not performing. The other type of coach was the one that he would always find your best thing, and he would be praising you, in front of the rest of the group and build you up that way. So I know when William and I talked earlier, like you want to catch people doing something right? So I think I said in one of the podcasts earlier, the idea of, in a lot of companies, if the owner calls you into his office or her office, the first thing you're thinking is, okay, what did I do? It's running through your head like it can't be good. Right. So, wouldn't it be great to change that philosophy, or at least when you start it, if in the management, and then someone says, hey, Doug, can you come into my office? I got to talk to you. When they walk in and you say, you know what, you did an awesome job today, or you helped with this, or like Mark does at our company, right? Hey, I'm going to call these people up and let them know that there's been a lot of chatter about them in a great way. So I think people react to things that they get, I'll say, rewarded for, even if the reward is a compliment, right? No money involved. People will want to continue to do that over and over. And I think it builds a real loyalty and a trust from the employee to the employer and vice versa. And again, it's easier when you're 14 years old and we have 40 people. We don't have 5,000 or 300. So it does get a little more challenging, but I think that's where your management staff really have to be empowered to have the same philosophy in wanting to project that to their team members.
Something you brought up last week was around the onboarding and welcoming experience.
Yep.
Talk to me a little bit about how branches should be really leveraging that.
Well, I think if I remember right, we were talking about the pen,
yes.
Right? The pen issue or situation out there. So, and again, very simple, but we were just talking about there's levels of pens, right? So when you talk about promotional and the strategy of, well, what's the difference here? And so my analogy was, if we understand that sometimes there's just low cost pens, right? They're meant to be left, which is fine. We have ours, right? Our purple ones with our click. But then I always think, well, let's think about that. If I'm a bank, if I work for TD Bank or any other bank for that matter, I don't want my pen to be the cheap pen. I don't want this thing that's, they see everywhere in every restaurant because it's been left behind. So there's a second tier pen. It's kind of that mid-level professional pen that a banker should be carrying. No matter what role they're in, there's that kind of distinction to it, which is nice. But then again, there's the premium pen. And this is not for the CEO. There are these people, but these are, I come in and open up my mortgage. I close on a loan for small business, commercial, whatever it is. As part of my kind of package, that's my signature pen. I'm signing these documents, right? That is valuable to me. I'm signing them with a very nice pen, and that's part of kind of the takeaway, the gift as I leave. So, we want to be able to show at each level that there's value in these things, in appreciation. And, the fact that you or someone has come in and entrusted the organization with your XYZ is a big deal. And thank you very much. So, and again, we're not talking $300 pens or things like that. So, but just a very nice well-balanced metal pen that, for anywhere from $20 to $30 or $40 could really separate it compared to the throwaway pens and the employee pen there.
What a great example of how every bit can matter.
Yeah.
In that experience of, oh, I got to go in. Usually, as someone who's closed on a mortgage and a home loan, it's a stressful time. You're there. There's a lot of paperwork, etc.
Yeah.
And you're right. Having those little pieces, those little bits, really can make a great experience.
Yeah. One of the things we always talk about with our customers is it's the quality, not the quantity. And we want to make things that people want to use. We don't want this stuff in the landfill. Nobody does. The audience certainly doesn't want it there anymore. So, but everybody has a budget. So we'd rather see fewer items done really well. And, the benchmark could be, would the CEO or president wear this, use it, drink out of it? If not, why would your customer want, right? So I think we got to look at it as we got to match your brand with the types of merch that you may want on the street. And it may not be the cheapest water bottle that comes to market just because you can get a bunch of them. That's probably not where we want to go. So we look at those things, again, case by case, but try to always encourage kind of a little nicer, more desirable item.
And when we talk about promotional products, it's really about making sure it's stuff that your audience wants. Yeah. And those bits can really matter in terms of, is someone going to put it in the back of a closet, throw it away, versus I'm going to wear it, I'm going to use it.
Right.
Talk to us a little bit about how you're working with clients to help identify those things.
Well, because we're also a promotional product provider, we have access to all the data, all the studies that get done. And so a couple that came out recently that we just downloaded, and we're looking to make them available maybe in the notes of this podcast, but in future work in that. One of them was by region of the country. You don't necessarily think sometimes like, oh, it's all the same across the country. And come to find out on the West Coast, things like umbrellas and outerwear were the top dogs of everything compared to things down south. And on the East Coast, there's a lot of drinkware, things of that nature. But the one that really stuck out to me was Generation Z. And again, one of the things that when we talk about quality over quantity, well, the number one item in merch, they use the term merch, right? They don't use promotional products. They call it all merch, right? It used to be swag, now it's merch. So the number one thing that they felt was the most appealing or that they wanted to get was large oversized graphic t-shirts or hoodies, right? Now, that wouldn't have been my first choice. So we have to understand the audience that we're trying to capture and go after. Now, again, doesn't mean you need to give away 1,000 hoodies because they're more expensive than a t-shirt, but you might have, hey, we're going to do these really nice. We're going to make it attractive to certain people and let these things be worn around the community by these people that are doing that.
And when we were talking, we were thinking, especially with banks and credit unions wanting to grow within the community, how cool would it be if you did limited edition runs, working with a local artist, etc.
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, nobody wants a bank logo across their hoodie.
Right.
But if you did something really well designed, again, limited edition, then you got your brand out there.
Yeah. Well, I know personally, when we first started Element, we were trying to do something with ours, and again, we're not a bank or credit union, but we developed it was like an old concert t-shirt. It was the Element World Tour, and every city and state that we'd done a project in, we had it listed on the back. So it looked like a concert shirt at first. But you think about, being silly, right? It's Nate's Bank and Trust International Surf Team with a great surf graphic. And again, they're limited edition. They could be dated. This is the 2025 version. So make it fun for the consumer. And at the end of the day, they got a really nice t-shirt. Yeah, it's still got the bank's name on it, but it's kind of in this irreverent humor that's talking about some other club or making it interesting to people. Kind of check that out, like what bank's got a surf team? Like, that'd be great to have them ask those questions. And I think, to your point, using if they can tie in to a local artist, whether they're a customer or a member or a community person, let them do the art, right? Don't just give it to some graphic designer or even us. Get some local artists that can get that credibility as being right in that community to do that. Part of it's the quality over quantity, right? If like most every institution, we're trying to get those young folks in, figure out a promotion, build a promotion. You don't have to say we're going to get 5,000 shirts, but hey, we're going to do 50 or 100 of these tees or hoodies, right? And to your point, if we can use a local artist, right, a local designer, hopefully a customer or member, and make that tie-in. Again, these aren't just silos that live by themselves. They incorporate all the strategy that's going in to the bank or the credit union. And there's where we get to start putting bits together, right? So we have the bit about, we know what the product is or what the desirable product is for this category, right? So now we'll build a promotion to pull those people in. The next bit is we're going to use local talent. We're going to use a local designer or somebody in-house that's created these fun graphics. And then the third bit could be, well, now that we have this information, well, why don't we use our digital signage to talk about, hey, these are the designs. Maybe it's a contest. Which is the most desirable graphic that you would like to see on these limited run hoodies or t-shirts? Could be done digitally, through a touch screen, or through your social media channels, right? So involve the community in voting on the things that they would like best.
So we've gone over a lot of different bits that people can start using. What are some key takeaways, though, that you hope your audience comes away with?
Probably the biggest is that these small things, or what we call bits, if they're done consistently, and they're the right ones, because sometimes it's, you got to flush them out, but good bits done consistently over a period of time are going to make great results. And again, sports, business, your life, it's just the way it is. So, but it's making it become a habit so that we can add bits, other bits down the road to that. So with all those things I just mentioned, it comes back to what I mentioned earlier. There's just no end to bits. We also want to be curious all the time. So as someone who's in business myself, or if you're on the marketing side, is we need to be curious about other opportunities and hopefully think a little differently about how we're going to deliver this experience. Because at the end of the day, it's not so much about the product or service. It's about the delivery of that and the kind of the emotions or the feelings that prospect, customer, member walks away with. That's what's remembered, not the checking account or the loan or things like that. Ideally, again, there can be multiple bits, so it's not just this one thing. They all have to work together. So at the end of the day, there's some overarching strategy of, this is the goal we're trying to hit. This is the voice. This is the type of messaging we want. And all of those little combined bits need to reach that.
Wonderful. Well, Nate, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. Where can people find you online?
Well, for me personally, I'm on LinkedIn at Nate Baldessaro. And of course, I'm on our website at Every Bit Matters, our Every Bit Matters hashtag or Instagram account, as well as YouTube. So you probably see more of me than you want to, but there I am.
And we'll put all the links in the show notes below.
All right.
And hope, my friend, that we're gonna find a chance to love just one more day. If you're gonna break down and lose yourself